SOC reports 1, 2, and 3. Where the heck did they come from? And why are these so important to businesses? In this video, we will uncover the full history and also the scandal that led to all of this. So SOC reports form part of the SSAE, Statement on Standards for Attestation Engagements, issued by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants. In other words, professional standards of how to do assessments and audits by a professional company rather than the company itself doing fraud and internal business, which led to various scandals in the past and eventually led to this gold standard that we call SOC reports. But before SOC came out, there was a law that was passed in 2002, which is known as SOX, Sarbanes-Oxley. And SOX is a US act that came about after a scandal with an energy company known as Enron back in the 2000s. And it was a massive company, the 7th largest in the USA in the energy sector, but it collapsed. And it turns out after a public inquiry that Enron was involved in some naughty dealings which involved defrauding investors and basically cooking the books. And to make matters worse, as if internal auditors in Enron cooking the books was not bad enough, external auditors that Enron hired in their back pocket were also cooking the books, as were many other American companies at the time. And this led to a massive distrust of the financial system at the time, and raised an important question. You see, it matters who audits the auditors. And the Enron CEO at the time, Kenneth would learn this history lesson when he was later arrested by the FBI for Enron's collapse in 2001. And this Enron scandal was followed by yet other multi-billion-dollar accounting frauds, for example at WorldCom. It goes to show how greedy men get when it comes to the dollar bill, yo. And after all these scandals, the trust in the American financial system needed to be restored after all this back-end dealing, and justice needed to be served in some way or form that would prevent this from ever happening again. And so, two US Senators, Paul Sarbanes and Michael G. Oxley, in 2002 managed to pass an act known as Sarbanes-Oxley after them two, which basically meant companies had to be SOX compliant. That is SOX, SOX, not SOC, SOC, which we will explain shortly after we explained SOX. As on this channel, we like to give you the full history context of a protocol or concept, not just the textbook examples. So for the remainder of this video, just remember, first came SOX, then came SOC. Now, another reason why SOX is so important, especially after that scandal, is that it enhances the quality of auditing. You see, before SOX, the profession was essentially writing its own rules, and thus the need for external governance was needed, hence the SOX. And to bring this historical accounting scandal to a conclusion, the SOX resulted in an independently funded auditing standard or regulator. This was known as the PCAOB, Public Company Accounting Oversight Board, which ultimately gave regulatory oversight over the USA Securities and Exchange Commission, also known as the SEC. And for any eagle-eyed viewers who were paying attention to this video, the original oversight board used to be the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, AICPA, but this was then replaced by PCAOB. And now the AICPA works closely and collaborates with the PCAOB. So now we understand the historical context of all that palaver and how SOX, SOX came about. Let's look at how the next thing, SOC, SOC, came about. As remember, first came SOX, then came SOC. And a very important technical difference is that any company whose stock is on the USA exchange, aka public market, has to be SOX compliant. And this is enforced through the SEC, the Security and Exchange Commission, meaning it is a legal regulation, whereas SOC, unlike SOX, does not have a legal requirement. Now it's important to note that the name of the game is trust. And to create that trust, both the SOX and the SOC audits are important to attest to the strength of an organization's internal reporting and data compliance. Now let's talk a little bit about SOC, which stands for Systems and Organizational Controls, SOC, which is actually part of the AICPA, again the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, and their associated reporting platforms which fall under SOC. Now the SOC has several different types of internal control reports, including SOC 1, SOC 2 and SOC 3, which we'll briefly go into now. Let's start with SOC 1, which nicely ties into all the SOC stuff we have just explained. So a SOC 1 audit report demonstrates compliance for internal controls over financial reporting as required per SOX. And an important technical takeaway is that SOC 1 uses guidelines as defined per SOX. And moving on to SOC 2, which is more aimed at information technology and cybersecurity professionals. Because a SOC 2 audit report is aimed at service providers who securely handle, manage, and store data such as customer data. And thus, SOC 2 brings into scope any relevant technology service or service provider, such as a cloud offering. For example, a SaaS service provider, aka software as a service. And SOC 2 reports are very detailed private documents for internal use. And given the sensitivity, only customers under a non-disclosure agreement (NDA) can actually see these SOC 2 reports. And that is an important technical keynote to remember because SOC 3 reports are public, summarized, simpler versions of the SOC 2 reports and are aimed at a more general audience. Another very important technical keynote. The SOC 1, 2, and 3 are different types of audit reports. One is not more prestigious than the other. They are just different types of reports for different types of purposes. And within each SOC type, there is also two different testing types, known as Type 1 and Type 2. Simply put, a Type 1 is a point-in-time assessment of a control's design suitability, whereas a Type 2 evaluates the design and operating effectiveness of a control over a period of time, for example 3 to 12 months. I hope you found today's video informative, and if you did, please be sure to like and subscribe to help support this channel. And if you would like to see more videos or technical deep dives into the SOC controls, please be sure to leave a comment and I will look to make a video in the future on this. Thank you for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed the content as much as I enjoyed creating it. If you would like to see more content like this, it would be super fantastic if you could leave a like and subscribe to help support this channel's growth.